Okay, we can start. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this joint webinar organized between Cyber-MAR and FORESIGHT, financed and promoted by the European Union under the umbrella of Horizon 2020 planning. As you may know, one of the main project objects has been to develop a platform to simulate cyber attacks with a new and advanced perspective, able to involve the entire logistics supply chain. So the focus won't be only on the maritime side. Transport and power issues will be included in the simulations. And this integration is due to the precious effort of the technical projects partners. The Italian Shipping Academy, through its international branch MC and under the WMU supervision, has the task to implement 3 education paths: basic, intermediate, and advanced, all addressed to the logistics supply chain operators. The one you're about to start is the intermediate course, where you'll be called to interact with the cyber range realized thanks to the contribution of a European partnership with 13 participants among enterprises, universities, and academies, and research centers. This is the right chance to thank all of them for their precious contribution and their proactive cooperation to such a high common goal. So thanks Greece, with the project leader ICCS and the other partners PCT, Seability, and PAIR. Thanks France, with Naval Group and Diateam. Thanks Finland with VTT. Thanks Sweden with WMU. Thanks Spain with Valencia Port Foundation and Atos. Thanks UK with University of Plymouth. Last but not least, thanks Germany with AIR. But above all, from me as Managing Director of IMC, International Branch of the Italian Shipping Academy Foundation, thanks to all the participants with my best wishes for a stimulating and fruitful course. And as a starting point, I would like to remind everyone that in case of questions, it is possible to drop some in the question and answer section. So this is the beginning, and it's my task to moderate this webinar. And I would like to leave the floor for the welcome and another welcome and introduction speech to Professor Olger Aykut, Director of Research World Maritime University, WMU in Malmö. Professor Aykut, the floor is yours. Please turn on the microphone.
So good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Mr. Stasi kindly introduced, I will be welcoming you without taking too much of your time from the WMU side. My name is Aykut Olser. I'm the Director of Research of the university. And as my colleague already highlighted, Cyber-MAR and Foresight projects are glad to welcome you to this joint webinar, Cybersecurity Challenges and the Future Perspectives. This webinar is the continuation of a productive collaboration that started almost a year ago amongst the sister project, Cyber-MAR and the Foresight. It serves as an introductory event to the upcoming joint winter school on cybersecurity that will be hopefully conducted in the first week of February. The aim of the webinar is to share and disseminate awareness on cybersecurity issues, challenges, and future perspectives from multimodal approaches. And digital infrastructure has become essential to the operation and management of numerous systems, critical to the safety and security of shipping, ports, and other transport modes, as you all know. Despite the fact that cyber risk management is encouraged to be followed by competent authorities, there is still large room for improvement. The importance of handling cyber preparedness as a highly prioritized aspect is the top important aspect in the maritime agenda is paramount. So in this respect, establishing a cyber ecosystem for preparing for cyber attacks and estimating the impact of a cyber attack from a financial perspective, we are developing a very fruitful training, as also Mr. Sista highlighted just now, aiming to increase the awareness raising. So in this respect, from the WMU side, on behalf of my colleagues, I welcome again from all two consortium as the Director of Research of WMU, and I'm sure it will be a very fruitful collaboration and the discussion. So in this respect, I wish you all a challenging and very fruitful webinar. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Professor Reichert. Another welcome and introductory speech from Vasilis Kosouras, Center for Security Studies, KEMEA Foresight Coordinator. Mr. Kosouras, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. I would like to express our warm welcome to all the participants on behalf of Foresight. We are working hard for many months now in aiming to provide a modern environment for the training in the cybersecurity domain, involving the vast capabilities of the cyber ranges, but also addressing the difficulties that most organizations have to deal with such infrastructures. We have also to define that we're dealing with the crucial parts of the economy and critical infrastructure like the naval transportation, the aviation, and the power grid infrastructures. So we have tried to conclude with a combined environment for training for the key personnel involved in the cybersecurity issues of all such organizations, and give them the tools available in order to advance their capabilities in countering cybersecurity issues. Of course, in the very short time we have in front of us during this webinar, we cannot deal with all the issues that may arise, but we'll try to have a, let's say, an insight from excellent key speakers panel for all these issues that may arise. And in the last half an hour, we are going to have a global talking regarding the results and the outcomes. Welcome again.
Thank you, Vasilis. Now we can start to go more in depth on the project with the section dedicated to the project's overview. And I would like to leave the floor to Eleftherios Ozonoglu, Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, ICCS, Cyber-MAR Coordinator, that will speak about Cyber-MAR project, concepts, objectives, and current progress. Mr. Eleftherios.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much. And all the panelists, but especially the attendees for joining this really important for us webinar. It is always important to increase the collaboration with other projects focusing on similar, let's say, challenges and having similar objectives, as you are going to understand based on our presentations, and in that way to optimize the way that we are going to provide solutions to the open problems and questions that have been discussed also by Professor before, but also to hear stakeholders, experienced people in the field. And this would allow us to further optimize and make even more detailed the solutions tailored to the actual needs. So I will not lose time. The idea is for me to try to present about the overall concept of the project, of the Cyber-MAR project, our detailed objectives, and where we are up to now, and how we progress in the project. I hope that you can see my screen. So, some project facts. The full title of the project is Cyber Preparedness Actions for a Holistic Approach and Awareness Raising in the Maritime Logistics Supply Chain. As greatly David presented, we are a consortium with really good representation of the member states. Started our efforts back in 2019 in the 1st of September, and the plan is to conclude the project at the end of August of 2022, with the overall contribution coming from the EU to be almost 6 million euros. And as discussed before, the coordinator of the project is the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems located in Athens, Greece, which is actually the research arm of the National Technical University of Athens. What are the challenges identified even by the call, and what are the overall goals that we have set in this project? We all know, and it is actively discussed the last years, that the maritime information systems in many cases are designed without accounting for the cyber risk, or at least this was the case in last decade. And that digital infrastructure has become essential and critical to the safety and security of shipping and ports. So it is really important to handle cyber preparedness as a high priority, and in that way to provide also the necessary tools that would allow the valid risk estimation, that would provide econometric models that at the end will allow the accurate estimation of the investments that are necessary in order for this cyber preparedness and cyber resilience to be increased. So Cyber-MAR ultimate goals, we can say that unfolds in two main directions. On the first hand, to establish a cyber ecosystem for preparing of cyber attacks, but also to estimate the impact of cyber attack from a financial perspective, and also these to support the undertaking of prompt decisions. In order now to achieve these two goals, we have some detailed key objectives that are also measurable and we try to monitor during the implementation of the project. The first one is to enhance the capabilities of cybersecurity professionals and raise their awareness on cyber risks. This includes the deployment of cyber ranges, but also the integration with training models, learning management systems, in order to try to improve the response time in specific resilience metrics. The second objective is related to assessing cyber risks for operational technologies that are mainly used in the maritime domain. Our focus is both on OT technology, but also IT technologies, having in mind the expectation that the upcoming years, IT-related technologies will further be integrated in the domain. Also to quantify the economic impact of cyber attacks across different industries with focus on port disruption. And this passes from quantifying economic risks in terms of time to recover, but also on product value at risk. And this is being actively integrated in the Cyber-MAR platform, as I'm going to explain in the next slides. The fourth objective is related to promote the cyber insurance market maturity in the maritime logistics sectors, in a way, however, these to be adaptable to other transport sectors as well. Therefore, we are developing recommendations based on the findings and the outcomes from the Cyber-MAR pilots and the simulations, in the way that either mature solutions or solutions that are actively and heavily being developed in the domain, how this could be adopted by the maritime logistics sector. And finally, to establish and extend certain CSERT tools for certain CSERTs and competent authorities in order to facilitate and increase their collaboration and engagement. And this includes, in terms of the actual implementation of the project, also the integration of the MIS platform, allowing the threat sharing capabilities, and also the engagement of at least 2 CERTs and CSERT in our pilot activities. So the overall concept and the methodology, we can say that the project takes advantage of the cyber range environments and adopts a 3-tiered approach. This includes solutions and innovations related to people, to increase continuous training, to facilitate continuous training through involvement in pilots, in training sessions, and to be familiarized with Cyber-MAR or similar platforms. Procedures, to measure actually the procedures and to uncover areas that could be improved. And also to test technologies and identify complex vulnerabilities when it comes to OT or IT infrastructure. 3 pilot scenarios will facilitate the integration of different components and systems, but also the evaluation, the actual evaluation of the system. The first pilot was related to the energy sources in the port of Valencia. So although the focus of the project is in the maritime sector, definitely the several sectors that support the maritime domain. So we are also focusing on domains that one could say that are also related to the activities of the Foresight Project. So we are really happy that we are identifying a room for collaboration and exchange of ideas and best practices. The second one is related to the application of the platform to a ship bridge simulator that our consortium member University of Plymouth brings to the project, including potential attacks to navigation, communication, and control systems. And the third pilot will be applied in order to simulate a SCADA attack to the port container terminal of Piraeus port, and also focusing on the consequences of a cascade effect, extending the attack also to the railway operator network. So we have an approach and methodology for these demonstration activities that influences also and creates the path for the different integrations among systems in the project. So the first phase was mainly related to the interconnection of legacy infrastructure with our platform and the cyber ranges that was realized in the first pilot and demonstrated in the first pilot. The second phase that is ongoing, and we are going to organize really soon our second pilot, will demonstrate the addition of additional cyber ranges and their integration. The integration of the learning management system, but also the macro framework, the risk analysis framework that we do have in our project, but also preliminary components regarding the econometric analysis of attacks and their consequences in the supply chain. And the third phase that will be connected to the third pilot is the full integration of all the Cyber-MAR components. The expected impacts by the project are related to the resilience of cyber threats and the data privacy breaches, impact on supply chain efficiency, also on the appropriate investments for cybersecurity, but also we are expected to have a significant societal impact when it comes also to access to training infrastructure for cyber defense, but also to contribution to standardization efforts. With the target audience for the project to be broad, this includes decision makers, public authorities, and international organizations, academia, port authorities, operators for the logistics sector and the maritime sector, certain sea-cert networks, the insurance, shipping, and cybersecurity companies and enterprises, but also European and international organizations and networks for cybersecurity. Briefly to mention about the different components that we have in our project, and we are integrating and combining the HNS platform with the main cyber range, facilitating virtualization of services and components, the ship simulator providing capability to simulate a complete ship breach, IDS intrusion detection and prevention solutions, combined with expert situational awareness components to produce and visualize the outputs of the network monitor tools, combined with metric visualization systems. Advanced CM technologies like the XLCM offered by consortium member Atos, and the LADS, the anomaly detection system, to further monitor the network traffic. Tools relate to the collaboration with certain CSERT teams. As I mentioned before, we integrate on this platform. The MACRA model, which is actually a risk analysis component to measure the level of cyber risk exposure of the pilot systems under consideration, and what could be the effect of the attack and how this could be quantified in terms of the expected reduction in operational capacity, for example, of a port. An econometric model that outputs the expected economic losses for different nodes in the value chains supported by the maritime sector. A recommendation engine that actually predicts through a probabilistic framework next and future actions of the attacker based on the already received alerts, events and alerts in the IDS components. This engine also fuses information from the econometric models in order to actually take advantage of predictions and provide an estimation of the expected impact in the value chain. A learning management system integrated with the Cyber-MAR platform. And here I'm trying to give a picture about the high-level architecture. I know that's not easy to focus in details in this webinar, but you can see that actually there's an integration of 3 different cyber ranges with supporting technologies like the one related to the orchestrator that we have defined in the context of the project, which is actually the main controller of the Cyber-MAR cyber range system, and actually controls all the other modular components and communicates with them through dedicated APIs designed with the main principle of the functionality inheritance, meaning that all components that want to integrate with the cyber range need to properly implement some API functions in order to be integrated with the overall system. This is an ongoing process, started on the specific definition of the components APIs, and this allowed also the integration with the learning management system. We have already identified some benefits of using the Cyber-MAR platform, both for employees, but also for security operators, but also for the management levels, as well as the research and development that it has been proved also during the implementation of the project that these platforms allow us to further experiment and develop additional solutions like the recommendation or prediction engine. A few words about the pilots. As I said, the first pilot related to energy sources of Valencia port has been completed, and we are now developing the second pilot related to the ship simulator. When it comes to the first pilot, we focus on testing and validating the initial version of the system, simulating a remote access attack on the IT and OT infrastructure and the energy grid of the port, with a result of cutting off the power supply to the port by shutting down the grid management OT system. But also we simulated a ransomware attack triggered by the command and control server that actually crypto-locked workstations in the infrastructure of the port. There are detailed scenario steps, both focusing on IT components, but also on PLCs and the actual attacks realized. The recording of the pilot is available on YouTube, so you can follow this link and see the full demonstration in detail. And regarding the second pilot that is under development, few words that the scenario includes the use and the use of a malicious firmware that has been downloaded by an engineer in the port side to be used in the rudder control unit in the ship. And the main points of the scenario, as it is going to be demonstrated in detail during the pilot, so stay tuned in our project and our channels for the announcement of the event, will be related to an infected RCU simulation, mainly referring to future scenarios of autonomous or more connected vessels. This gives several detection opportunities both on the port side, but also on ship. This includes the detection of DNS requests to the malicious side, but also malicious IPs. Also the detection on ship when it comes to NEMEA messages. And also we are going to analyze the reaction of the crew to the attack. Last but not least, and really, really important, already mentioned by Davide, that we have a rich training program in the project. We already implemented the intermediate level, and we are really happy and honored to collaborate with colleagues from Foresight to jointly also realize advanced level trainings using our platforms. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm really happy and honored to participate in this webinar and looking forward to discussing with all of you also during the panel discussion.
Thank you, Lefteris, for your detailed presentation. I would like to leave the floor to Professor Nicholas Kolokotronis from the University of Peloponnese, Foresight Technical Manager. He will speak about Foresight Project, concept, objectives, and current progress. Professor Kolokotronis, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello to everyone. So I'm about to talk about Foresight Project, current state, objectives, and developments and future steps. So without losing more time, let me start the presentation. Okay, so I think you can see my screen and I can start. Great. So I will talk about Foresight Project. Foresight is a project that aims at developing a cybersecurity simulation platform for preparedness in 3 domains, as the project's title already states: aviation, naval, and power grid. So I will proceed with presenting a bit the project before moving on to the more technical details. Foresight is a project comprised by 22 partners. Its starting date was around the late 2019, and it will end early 2023. So the motivation for starting this work was, of course, the rapid growth of attacks of various forms that impact the operation of businesses. And one of the main goals was to have some insight based on such cybersecurity incidents and manage to forecast, detect appropriately, and mitigate the attacks. So in order to implement such type of detection and mitigation measures, we need to develop the appropriate security framework and tools. So in order to deal with sophisticated attacks, sophisticated approaches as well are needed to countermeasure those attacks. And those countermeasures need to bridge the gap into various security approaches. There is a great fragmentation in the security technology market. So one of the goals of the project was to bring technologies together and provide a unified solution. The project, as its sister project, Cyber-MAR, is not only focusing on the technological aspects, but also puts great focus on training aspects as well. So federated environment is part of the project's high-level objectives. Federated environment for providing a realistic, diverse, and dynamic simulation infrastructure that users and security professionals can be trained in various aspects. Diverse aspects in training that will give them the necessary skills to thwart sophisticated attacks. So the scope of Foresight is to bring together several cyber-range systems and lightweight training environments to provide a federated solution that will provide this diverse set of tools and skills to cybersecurity professionals. This mixture of platforms and systems aims at providing the capacity to model a diverse set of domains and allow the users to get into the details of attacks targeting each domain, but also large-scale attacks that spread across many domains. So these type of scenarios that we are dealing in the project are the so-called hybrid scenarios, as you can see in the slide. So the project as a high-level objective has, as already mentioned, to provide this state-of-the-art platform to enhance the capabilities of existing cyber ranges, and to deliver and complement this infrastructure with curricula that aim to fill in the gaps, provide the necessary skills to cybersecurity professionals to deal with sophisticated cyber attacks in a number of innovative ways. So for this curricula to be possible to be involved and cover the needs as they are continuously involved, this curricula is considered to be a live set of training programs that whose content is being shaped and adjusted accordingly as the current state of attacks is also evolving. So this gives rise to the need for a dynamic, continuously evolving environment, and also scenarios to be implemented in such an environment that will be also dynamic and evolving to cover the needs of trainees. So this is complemented by other tools and approaches that give rise to a risk-based approach in many parts of the security training offered by Foresight, and the ability to trainees to use a number of tools that will assist them in assessing the impact business-wise and from a technical perspective of the attacks. Foresight as having as a goal the federation of cyber ranges. It is bringing together 3 cyber ranges in 3 different domains, from aviation, power grid, and the naval domain, and is also including a number of lightweight training environments, to be more precise, 6 technical environments from different countries that are providing the training material and hands-on exercises in more general matters, complementing what is offered from the cyber ranges. So again, this is the high-level concept of the project. So we can see that each domain provides not only its infrastructure, but also provides the appropriate training material specialized to the domain and appropriate scenarios against which the trainees are getting trained. And all these are complemented by a number of scenarios that span more than one domain, therefore giving rise to giving the ability to trainees to study more large-scale attacks. The project, the work plan was organized in a number of phases. We are currently completing integration between the core Foresight platform and external systems. So, and of course, developing and finalizing the curricula that will be offered in Foresight trainings. So this is currently the state of the project. Now, the Foresight project provides the ability to cyber ranges to be federated. So we have a number of core technologies and modules that are being offered at the federation level that bring in together the services offered individually by the cyber ranges and extending them, enriching them, and giving them back to the users in a unified way. As part of the silo of tools that the project offers, we have a learning management system that collects information from various external cyber ranges and training environments, organizing the material, enriching the material, and offering the material in a coherent way, organized as part of learning paths and certifications to the users. This learning material is tightly coupled with the scenarios that trainees can experience by playing them in either the cyber ranges or the training environments. So we can see at the left-hand side this game maker that is able to dynamically generate scenarios at various configuration modes, individual, team-based, etc. A multitude of exercise types is being supported from CTF, operational, and in many cybersecurity domains. So the ability to have this environment to advance its state and to keep this material continuously evolving, we are utilizing threat intelligence systems that collect information from various sources, and this information is integrated internally to the system and eventually finds its way into various other modules like the game maker or the learning module. So giving a unique experience to the users that are utilizing the platform. And as part of the system, we can also see at the right bottom part, this analyzer box that includes functionalities related to threat forecasting, providing analysis of attacks from a business perspective. So we have the econometric modeling and risk analysis. This core part of the Foresight interacts with external systems, cyber ranges, and training environments, which provide several capabilities, as we can see in this platform, in this slide. So these modules comprising Foresight Federation, we see here a high-level view of a federated infrastructure. So in different colors, we have the cyber ranges at the different domains, the naval, aviation, and power grid. And we can also see at the bottom side of this slide, training environments that are also communicating with a federated environment. All this is made possible by a number of gateways, federated gateways that allow those platforms to be connected via VPN to Foresight and make their services available to Foresight users. So we have those modules that I referred to previously depicted here as individual icons. So whatever its training environment or cyber range has to offer, this is imported in a dynamic scenario creation module that has also the ability to create extended scenarios, meta scenarios that actually unify the domains into single large-scale infrastructures that are shared across the cyber ranges. And of course, the material for those scenarios are also included in the federated LMS. From the training point of view, we have been focusing on different types of training, both individual training or team-based training. Soft skills and hard skills are also being promoted and advanced. So the training currently has foreseen a large number of modules to be provided. For to be more precise, we have a total number of 60 modules that are being organized in different learning paths. The first three pertain to the project modules, whereas the last one is more generic and actually provides the background, more or less, that trainees need to proceed to the advanced parts of the learning paths. And as part of certifications, the project has proceeded into providing, again, certifications in the three domains, where certifications can vary according to the expertise level of the trainees. So we have beginners level, awareness type of certifications, intermediate and advanced level. So to close the presentation, the project is bringing great advantages by simulating large-scale complex infrastructures, and this is made possible by being able to federate external systems, both sophisticated and lightweight, to complement the training that is offered to users. An adaptive approach is being promoted, meaning that we have the necessary tools, gamification oriented to increase the user's engagement to training. And this is complemented by advanced visualization techniques. And of course, as part of the tools that users employ in their tasks, we have also been integrating econometric models to the whole training process. So I think this is more it about Foresight. We'll be glad to ask any questions in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kolokotronis. Before going to the keynote speeches section of this webinar, I would like to remind you that if you have some questions, you can drop them into the question and answer section, and you'll be answered soon. So we will start the keynote speeches with Mr. Murad Gorbel, Technical Officer for the Maritime Safety Division of the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, who will speak about practical preparation to counter cyber attacks at sea, precise IMO documentation and circulars relating to cybersecurity. Hello, Murad.
Hi, David. Happy to see you again, even virtually.
Good to see you. The floor is yours.
Sorry.
Okay, you can start.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks. Just allow me to share my screen and we'll start. I think you should stop sharing. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it is still there.
Okay, no.
No, it is shared. I think you should stop sharing.
I'm not sharing.
So what happened then? Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
It's connecting. Okay.
Yeah, is it on the screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. It depends on where you are. It's my pleasure today to give this short presentation about the maritime cybersecurity, an overview of the IMO legal framework. So, as you know, that perfect security can never be fully realized. There exists no vessel or port facility that is so well protected that it cannot be seized, damaged, or destroyed. That's why we speak about the risk management and risk, not risk elimination. The zero risk, this did not exist. For that, why we establish effective maritime security? The reason is to discourage and to deter the attempt to put measures in place to harden a ship or port facility attack, and to ensure the attempt remains an attempt. And finally, if the attempt is made, at least we can minimize the damage. So in order to achieve that, we have to understand the maritime threats, then develop, measure, and appropriate response to detect and deter the threats. But why do cyber incidents happen? As you know, there is an increasing use of the IT and the internet on the ships, like the bridge, like the GPS and so on. And also there is an increasing use of a networking environment. For example, in a simple merchant ship, usually we can find at least 2 or 3 different networks. One for the crew, that is serves as a person for their personal devices. One for business, and from 10 to is linked between 10 and 20 devices, servers, PC, and VoIP phones, and also one for the systems. That means, for example, navigation system like EGDIS that should be connected 24/7 to get updates of the charts. The same for the port facility. Now the use of the networked computer and the control system integral to almost everything: the cranes, the scanner, the access control, the CCTV rooms, and so on. So what is the IMO framework related to these cyber threats? The two main tools that are mandatory and dealing with the cybersecurity are the ISPS code, the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code that was adopted in 2002. And also we have the ISM code that was adopted in 1993 following the incident of the head of free enterprise. Also, IMO developed guidelines to deal with the cybersecurity, and namely we have the MSC FAL circular number 3, that is a guidelines on maritime cyber risk management that was adopted in June 2017. And also in April, we have the MSC 42898, that is a resolution that explains how we can manage the cyber risk in the safety management system of ships. This resolution is very important for the shipping industry. So for who is this MSC FAL Circular 3? So these guidelines on maritime cyber risk management are primarily intended for all organizations in the shipping, including ship owners, ship company, ship operator, administration, port authority, and they are designated to encourage safety and security management practice in the cyber domain. Within these guidelines, there is the definition of the maritime cyber risk that refers to a measure of the extent to which a technology assets could be threatened by a potential circumstance or event which may result in shipping-related operational, safety, or security failure as a consequence of information or system being corrupted, lost, or compromised. And also, there is the definition of the management of the cyber risk. That means the process of identifying, analyzing, assessing, and communicating a cyber-related risk and accepting, avoiding, transferring, or mitigating it to an acceptable level, considering cost and benefit of action taken to stakeholders. So the overall goal is to support safe and secure shipping, which is operationally resilient to cyber risk. So within these guidelines, there is an example how we can manage a cyber risk. We can start by identifying what are the assets to protect, how to protect them, how to detect, how to recover, and how to respond. Also, there is additional guidance and standard that are within these guidelines, and I'm encouraged ship owners to use those guidelines in order to put in place a safety management system that is dealing with cybersecurity on board ships. So those guidelines can be from BIMCO, from Intercargo, Intertanko, etc. Also, we have the resolution MSC 42898 that was adopted in 2017 that affirmed that an approved safety management system should take into account the cyber risk management in accordance with the objective of the ISM code, encouraged administration to ensure that cyber risks are appropriately addressed in safety management system no later than the first annual verification of the company document of compliance after 1st January 2021. That means now, normally, all ships have a safety management system that includes some provision how to deal with the cyber security risk. Also, there was some clarification on the MSC 101 in 2019 that agreed that there is no need to double the work done between the ISM and the ISPS code, and confirmed that on maritime cyber risk management in safety management system, the requirement for the administration that cyber risk were appropriately addressed in existing safety management system can be verified by an endorsed document of compliance and safety management certificate, and that in the ship security plan, reference should be made to cyber risk management procedure found in the safety management system. That means only a reference within the safety management system to the ship security plan. This was an overview of the resolution that entered into force or decided to amend the ISM, and this amendment entered into force on 1st January 2021. Now for the ISPS, just a short overview that it was not needed to amend this document to include some provision related to cybersecurity, since we believe that the cybersecurity it is already addressed within this instrument. So within this instrument, there is the ship security assessment and the port facility security assessment, and ship security plan and the port facility security plan. And within the assessment, there is identification and evaluation of key shipboard operation that it is important to protect. And here we can include the IT material, for example, and assets. And also, the ship security assessment shall address the following elements on board or within the ship, and within those elements, the radio and telecommunication system, including computer system and networks. That means already the ISPS code addressed the cybersecurity, and within the ship security assessment, the telecommunication system and the computer system and the network shall be covered by the assessment. The same for the port. The assessment, the port facility security assessment shall identify and evaluate the important assets and infrastructure it is important to protect, and identification of possible threats. And within those threats, we have to consider the cybersecurity threats to the assets and the infrastructure and the likelihood of their occurrence. Also the same for the port facility security assessment within the element that should be addressed, the radio and telecommunication system, including computer system and networks. For that, it was decided to not amend the ISPS code and just to amend the ISM code, since we believe that the ISPS code cover already the cybersecurity threats. So It is not enough to have a process and technology, because we believe that people and the training awareness is the key element to mitigate or to address the cyber security. That's why IMO is updating its security model courses to incorporate maritime cyber risk management. And here, if you can see the course for the Port Facility Security Officer is being amended to include some provision related to the cybersecurity, also for the ship security officer, and the security awareness training for port facility personnel with or without designated security duties. And I think, and this is my personal view, that the STCW convention will be amended to include some provision related to the cyber security. This was a short presentation on overview of the IMO legal framework related to cyber security. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Murad, for this complete overview from the most important regulator by the maritime point of view. I would like to introduce now Mr. Bruno Bender, Chairman of the EU Coast Guard Functional Forum Cybersecurity Working Group and National Cybersecurity Coordinator for Maritime Sector in France, will speak about EU Coast Guard cybersecurity initiatives. Mr. Bruno Bender, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, David. Can you read me?
I say you can take the floor, Mr. Bender.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You made the introduction. Let me share my screen, and if it works, it's perfect. So as you were saying, I'm currently the chairman of a cybersecurity working group, which was organized within the Forum of the Coast Guards. And my objective in these 15 minutes is to present you what we have achieved, where we are coming from, and where we want to go. The ECGFF Cybersecurity Working Group was first a workshop which was developed a few years ago by Germany, which we took into account within the Forum of the Coast Guards. And we are now organized as a group encompassing about 20 organizations. We have there, of course, some maritime organizations, some navies, coast guards, and so on. And we are working on cybersecurity. Why? Because, as you can see it on this slide, the attacks and impacts of cybersecurity events have augmented, and they are now touching also more and more vessels and facilities of administrations, navies, of course, coast guards. And the last ones, which were very, very significant, touched even maritime ships, naval ships. You are aware about the event which happened in the Black Sea on NATO vessels, which have been spoofed there in vicinity of Ukraine and Crimea. And this is, of course, a very important thing which happened there in June last year. And there have been also some other attacks which touched some Swedish vessels, patrol vessels from administrations. And of course, there are some permanent events in the Mediterranean and of course in other parts. What is also changing is that cybersecurity attacks are not only touching the activity, but they are also impacting the trust and image. And of course, those two factors are very important for Coast Guards. Why? Because the trust is something important, because Coast Guard are representing states, member states, and So without trust, nothing can be done at sea. And the image, of course, also, why? Because when you are having some trouble in the image of an operator, and that's the case, for example, for the big companies which have been attacked, as for example, Maersk or CMA, CGM, or some other stakeholders. It's something which is to be taken into account. And so we, as a cybersecurity working group, have an objective, and it's to reduce the risk level. And the risk level, which is shown here, we separate it in three aspects. The first one is an organizational sector, in which the risk can be reduced by some actions in governance and organizations. The second one is rather on technology, because we will then reduce the risk on technological solutions. And the third one then will be managed rather by insurance, which is also a stakeholder in the maritime, and an important one, of course. So we, as a cybersecurity working group, we would like to act on, of course, laws, because it's one of the aspects, because if you have no laws, no action is possible. We want to act on the governance of a European cybersecurity, and the better aspects, and I'm turning there the representative of IMO, it's an international governance, which is important to have. The third one is, of course, the risk analysis, which we are monitoring permanently. And we had also some very interesting presentations about education and training. And so that these aspects will reduce drastically the risk in a first step. The second step, we have also seen that it's a technological one with threat intel, with monitoring of incidents. And of course, it's also the incident management and sharing, which we would like also to initiate in our forum. Concerning the aspects of resilience, especially for critical infrastructures, it's something which we are also supporting with our point of contacts in the harbors and on other critical infrastructure, and of course with other sectors. At least in this second step, we would like also to initiate some projects, and I will speak about you. I will present you the idea we have on AIS, which is, as you know, the system which is today one of the most important systems for the maritime. And of course, the last step with the insurance, which brings, of course, the confidence and the possibility to reconstruct in case of an attack, is also important. Why? Because when you have suffered an attack, or when we have some issues of risks which cannot be managed as we would like, there's the possibility to evaluate the insurance impact. So this all has been taken into account in our cybersecurity working group, in which we have achieved already a bunch of actions in taking into account the different steps which have been initiated by Germany first during their presidency, then by France in this presidency, in which we launched a real working group. And this initiative now is being supported by the European Commission, DG Mare, which is financing this initiative. And of course, we would like to develop furthermore what we have already initiated, and I will come again on that a bit later. So, of course, the very first thing we would like to develop in this group is confidence between us. And of course, this brings then trust. And with the trust, we are going then to initiate some cooperations around incident sharing, which is a first step. And this has been achieved last year in November in a working group which took place in Lisbon at the EMSA facilities, and in which, with our colleagues, from the Netherlands, from Belgium, from Italy, from France, of course, Germany, Estonia, Croatia, and so on, Spain. We have shared between us the incidents which everyone has suffered. So we have an action list in this group in which we are speaking about certification and classification. This is an issue we have raised at the beginning, and we would like to develop that in particular with the IMO. And of course also with our colleagues from the US Coast Guards, because they are also part associated, I would say, to this working group. The second one is, of course, this information sharing and risk analysis, which has been really well supported at the last meeting. The Action 3 has been developed also very, very early, because we have written some terms of reference for our working group. And we have initiated an information portal, which you have the screenshot. So it's a limited access portal in which we are sharing some documents, and I will present you some examples of what we have shared in this portal. The development of spoofing and jamming detection, this is also something very important. We have worked on that, and we would like to develop their project, technical project, which I'm going to speak to. And we are developing currently an IT security concept. And we are speaking, of course, of criminal aspects on cybersecurity for Coast Guards, and especially the link with cryptocurrency and cybersecurity, in which we would like to develop also some ideas in this forum. The terms of reference are, of course, the basic document which we have written. It describes how we are working, how we are functioning, and this document is available and allows us to make the basic functioning of this forum. The second ones which we have developed is an information letter which we have. We are producing 3 or 4 of them every year. It's normally unclass information which is only for official use. We are developing there an analysis of some incidents which took place. We spoke, of course, about the AIS attacks which are happening in China, especially. We have had some about the attack of an Iranian harbor in 2019, and we have also some general letters which are describing very, very synthetic analysis of events. One of the focus which I was relating was about EAS. EAS is something which we are following very, very precisely, because as you see it, AIS is today endangered because most of the stakeholders are thinking that they have trustful information there, which is not the case, because a lot of spoofing happens today, and several courses of actions let us compare that to what was done in past times, when the populations of certain regions in the world were attracting ships to their waters in order to make them sink, and then take or plunge the cargo which they were transporting. So this is something which is important, and especially for the Coast Guards. I was speaking about the events that took place last year. In February last year, you had multiple vessels from Sweden, which has been spoofed and which appeared there. Just to show you, there has been some other attacks at the Elba Islands, which were reported by the Italian Coast Guards, which did an excellent work on this analysis. And we have several other events on AIS which let us know that we have to do something, and that's the reason why we have also made an analysis on AIS spoofing, which was reporting about these events. And the objective now is to develop a technical demonstrator on securing AIS for Coast Guards, but not only. And this will be the next step which we would like to develop within this forum. But generally, as I was saying, we were coming in 2021 from a cybersecurity workshop, which we developed this year in a cybersecurity working group. And our objective is to develop a maritime ISAC for the Coast Guard's community, in which we would like to involve, of course, the EU partners, but also our American colleagues, which are doing a lot of work on, especially on spoofing, AIS, GNSS, for example. And of course, we would like to have some links with some sectorial transportation ISACs. And so you see, once we will achieve that, we will have some interactions, as I said, with other sectors. We will have this cybersecurity information sharing, which is very important. And in that, also having a cybersecurity sharing platform in which we could share, exchange, and monitor the activity in the cybersecurity domain. And this will be then our objective for the next ongoing period, in which we would like there also to develop this project with EU national fundings, and we would like to have something developed right at the end of the year of 2023. And this would then be something to be implemented on Coast Guard ships at the first time, and then on other ships. So this concludes my brief. Thanks a lot for having given me the opportunity to speak about our work, which is done within the Coast Guard's Community Forum, and on which we continue to work with our partners and members. And thanks a lot for everything. And I give you back the floor, David, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Now it's time for a short break, 15 minutes of break. So I think we can meet again at 11:30 or around that time, anyway, for the continuation of the keynote speeches. So thank you. See you in 15 minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Hope you had a good break and you're ready for the continuation of our discussions and the keynote speeches section. And I see he's ready, so I would like to introduce Mr. Ricardo de Souza from ENISA, who will speak about the aviation focus on the subject of our webinar. So Ricardo.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much for your help in with the presentation. I was having some technical difficulties here with my laptop. Let me also, my camera is also on. Thank you very much for your invitation and having ENISA here today in this webinar. I would also like to thank the previous speakers and participants for their very nice and insightful presentations. So without further ado, I would start this brief presentation on the aviation sector, and also sharing with you some of the work and the focus that ENISA is currently having on the aviation sector. So Monica, if you could please go ahead to the next slide. Okay, slide number 2, exactly. So ENISA is the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity. Our mission is to achieve a high common level of cybersecurity across the Union, of course, in cooperation with the wider community. ENISA does this through acting as a center of expertise in cybersecurity, collecting and providing independent, high-quality technical advice and assistance to the member states and the EU bodies on cybersecurity. So we have kind of a cycle, let's say, a continuous improving cycle between having some foresight on what are the major challenges ahead in terms of cybersecurity. With that, we can build capacity, build operational cooperation, and really deliver better solutions to make EU citizens and business more trust and security-based. So ENISA also contributes to developing and implementing the Union's cyber policies. Our aim is to really strengthen the trust and in the connected economy to boost resilience and trust on the overall Union's infrastructure and services, and really keep our society and citizens digital secure. As an organization, ENISA has evolved throughout the years. We aspire to be an agile, environmentally and socially responsible organization, which really focuses on people. For that, can you please move on, Monica? For that, there's an important piece of legislation that was published in 2019, and this is what is called the Cybersecurity Act. This is a regulation 2019-881 of the European Parliament and of the Council, which basically gives a fresh new mandate to ENISA. This is a very important mandate for the agency, as it expands the activities and the role of ENISA within the EU. And it also, on the other side, really reflects the Commission's commitment about addressing cybersecurity at EU level. So please, we can please continue, Monica. So one of the critical pieces of legislation is what you call the NIS Directive. The NIS Directive is the first piece of EU-wide legislation on cybersecurity. It goes back to 2016, and it provides legal measures to boost the overall level of cybersecurity in the EU. Member states had to transpose this directive into their national laws by May 2018, and started by identifying what was called by then the operators of essential services. Okay, so this is a very important piece of legislation. Is the first step towards an overall EU cybersecurity compromise, and so the NRS directive provides legal measures to boost cybersecurity by doing three basic things. The first is to have the member states prepared by requiring them to be appropriately equipped. That is, for instance, via a computer security incident response team and national competent authorities. Okay. The second way that the NRS provides legal measures to increase cybersecurity is to assure the proper cooperation among all member states. The NIS directive set up the creation of what is called the NIS Cooperation Group, which is active and working. And this cooperation group supports and facilitates strategic cooperation and the exchange of information among member states. And last but not least, the NRS directive fosters a culture of cybersecurity awareness across the different sectors, which are vital for our economy and society, and moreover, rely more and more on ICT and technology. And these sectors are energy, the transport, water, banking, financial market infrastructures, healthcare, digital infrastructure. So there's a lot of sectors within the focus of the NRS directives. Businesses in these sectors are there that are identified by the member states as operators of essential services needed to take what is called in the NIS directive as the appropriate technical and organizational security measures, which are in place. And also these businesses are required to notify serious incidents to the relevant national authority that was created. We can move on, please. So ENISA is working within the different NIS sectors, those that are in the scope of the NRS directive. We have created also an online tool that is very helpful and allows you to sort and filter the national competent authorities for each of the sectors covered by the NIS directive. You can use this tool. This is available online and gives you a couple of informations that are very useful regarding the NIS directive. ENISA's role, and we can now move to the next slide. ENISA's role in the NIS directives is fivefold. Well, first of all, we assist the member states and the EU Commission in the implementation of the NIS directive. So, on one hand, we give technical advice to new legislation pieces, but then we also have the implementation part, and this is also very important to assist the member states in that task. We also have a formal role in the NIS cooperation group. So we participate in the NIS cooperation group together with members of the Commission and with members of the member states. We provide the secretariat support for the CSERT network. We elaborate advice and guidelines regarding cybersecurity within the scope of the NIS directive. And we develop and organize exercises for increasing operational capability and increasing the ability to detect, respond, and recover to cybersecurity incidents. We also give support to sectorial cooperation by increasing the awareness of sector-specific threats. For instance, we have a annual threat landscape. And from an information sharing perspective, which is also in the scope of Nrs Directive, we give assistance to EU ISACs, providing a vehicle for a vehicle and operating model for this kind of collaboration. Over to the next slide, and just to show you that there are two main, let's say, perspectives on the implementation of the Nrs Directive. One is what we call the horizontal perspective, and these are basically provisions that are on the Nrs Directive that are common to all the sectors. And then there's the sectorial implementation, which means that we deal also with the verticals themselves. We look at the sectors, we look at their specificities, and we provide technical advice and implementation, which is different from each of the sectors. Now we are at the stage where there's the Nrs Directive 2.0 proposal. Okay, this happens within the context of the new EU cybersecurity strategy for the digital age. Okay, this was published in December 2020. And this new cybersecurity strategy from the EU is a very important step forward towards reinforcing the cybersecurity and the resilience capabilities of the European Union. So the main objectives of this new cybersecurity strategy are to really foster Europe's collective resilience against cyber threats, to have trust and security at the heart of the digital society, to reform the rules on the previous security of network and information systems, the Nrs Directive, to build operational capacity, and this is, for instance, the joint cyber unit, and to increase cooperation among academia, industry, and ISACs. So we want to really, with the NIS2 proposal, we believe that there's a very big need to be able to cooperate not only within the EU organizations, agencies, and bodies, but also outside with academia and industry. This NIS2 proposal, and I ask you to move to the other slide, please. The NIS2 is just, it's in this final stage of discussion within the Commission. So it should be out very soon, we believe, during this year. And the main highlights of this new proposal are really to bring, first of all, it adds new sectors based on their criticality for the economy and the society. It also introduces a clear size cap, meaning that all medium and large companies in selected sectors will be included in the scope. At the same time, it leaves some flexibility for member states to also identify smaller entities with a high security risk profile. And these entities would be classified based on their importance and divided respectively in essential and important categories, with the consequence of being subjected to different supervisory regimes. So we drop the previous taxonomy of the NIS directive of classifying the operation or identifying the operation of essential services, and now the criteria is different, and also there's a size cap. Overall, the proposal also strengthens security requirements for the companies, and this is done by imposing a very clear risk management approach and providing a minimum list of basic security elements that really have to be in place. This is very important because more and more, and this was also mentioned in previous presentations today, more and more we really need to address cybersecurity from a holistic point of view. And this is not just the technical components of cybersecurity, but also having proper and sound governance and risk management while dealing with cyber threats. The proposal also introduces more precise provisions on the process for incident reporting and for the content of the report and the timelines. So all in all, the NIS2 is considered to be a really big step forward in terms of increasing cybersecurity and resilience. On the next slide, I would also like to stress that the Commission proposes to address security of supply chains and supplier relationships by requiring individual companies to address cybersecurity risks in supply chains and supplier relationship. This is a very interesting and a very important topic indeed, because today we have seen attacks which are conducted that have implications along the whole supply chain, but typically they seek to find the weakest link in the supply chain and really prepare the attacks from there. So at the European level, the NIS2 proposal strengthens supply chain cybersecurity for key information and communication technologies. So member states, in cooperation with the Commission and ENISA, will carry out coordinated risk assessments of the criticality of supply chains, building on the successful approach taken in the context of the Commission recommendation on cybersecurity of 5G networks. The proposal also introduces more stringent supervisory measures for national authorities, stricter enforcement requirements, and aims at harmonizing sanction regimes across member states. And the Commission proposal will establish a basic framework with responsible key actors on coordinated vulnerability disclosure for newly discovered vulnerabilities across the EU, and creating an EU registry on that operated by ENISA. So the next steps are really finishing. The Commission is reviewing the NIS2 directive and is looking forward to implementing this new cyber strategy in the coming months. Okay, so we move to the next slides. Aviation has always been a key sector. Okay, either in the current NIS directive, but it will continue to be so in the new proposal for NIS Directive 2. Who is actually an operator of essential services in the aviation sector? Well, this really depends on the criteria set out in the implementing legislation in each member state. but under the Nrs Directive, a public or private aviation company of a certain type, like an air carrier, airport managing bodies or traffic management control operations, all of them are considered operation of essential services if they provide a service which is required to maintain critical societal or economic activities. Such service is dependent on network and information systems, and an incident would have a significant disruptive impact on that service. So overall, these entities are considered as operations of essential services, and for that reason, they need to have the technical and organizational measures in place to address cybersecurity issues, and they are also bounded to notify authorities in case of an incident. We can move to the next slide. Next slide, please. So ENISA having for the fact that it helps member states implementing the Nrs Directive, has been working for some years now in the aviation sector. We have conducted different studies, for instance, the security of smart airports. You would find this available on ENISA's website. We have also supported the member states regarding aviation on the implementation of the NIS directive. We have also been supporting the review of the NIS directive and proposal of NIS directive 2 concerning the transportation sector and the aviation as a whole, and supporting the European strategic cooperation platform here in collaboration with EASA and Aerocontrol for, I give you here a print screen of an example of that. At this moment, EASA and within this platform, we are new piece of legislation is being developed. You can find the this opinion and also the terms of reference in EASA's website. And basically, this new piece of legislation is supposed to be horizontal provisions for the aviation sector, meaning that it's going to be mandatory to have a information management system within the aviation sector. So so basically, these are in-depth studies. The latest one was really from ENISA was the Smart Airports study, which provides basically a guide for airport decision makers, directors, and heads of cybersecurity and operations. A guide for understanding major threats, a depth examination of existing knowledge, as well as the key assets of smart airports. So with this, it is possible to provide a detailed analysis and threat mapping with a particular focus on the vulnerabilities of smart components. So I would like to conclude with the next slide. So that I don't take too much time to conclude the following. So first of all, the Nrs Directive is a key piece of legislation. This is what brings the transportation, and in this case, the aviation within other sectors as a critical infrastructure. Okay. And this directive really sets forward the legal basis for improving or for having a higher level of security in Europe's critical infrastructure. And it's really our job is to work as a catalyst for collaboration and exchange of information and best practices. So we aim to help in sharing experience, sharing threats, sharing incidents, collecting, consolidating, and disseminating good practices. We do very technical studies, but always in collaboration with experts, with the industry, with academia, and we really work with member states authorities to achieve what we say a EU-wide harmonization of policies, of capabilities, and of operational response. So in our opinion, really collaboration is the key to move forward, to really build a better and more digitally secure Europe. And with that, I finish my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Okay, we are approaching the conclusion session. We have one speech now, then we will have the conclusion session. I would like to remind all participants that you can drop your questions on the question and answer section. They will be addressed in the next section. So now the floor is to Dimitrios Mikalopoulos, distribution network operator, that will speak about Hellenic electricity power grid focus. Dimitrios, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you for this webinar and for my participation. I think you can see my presentation, hopefully, if there are no technical issues.
We can see it.
Yeah, okay. So, for those who are not familiar with HEDNO, HEDNO is the energy distribution operator of Hellenic energy network, and our goal is to sustainably contribute for the development of energy and distribution energy in every sector of Greece. Our goals has to do with energy quality, customer care quality, reduction of operation costs as means of digitalization, and introduction to new technologies. As long as these technologies arise critical security and cybersecurity issues that we have to contribute with and take a huge respect. For this reason, we have made a new organizational structure that includes the Data Protection and Information Security Department that is dedicated on data security and cybersecurity issues for IT and OT environment. The regulation it's very important as all our actions are based on that, and we have a huge concern to be legitimate with all the regulations. For example, the NIS Directive that I think we are all familiar with, that includes critical services, although we have the NIS 2 Directive that the previous speaker told us that it's going to be up in next time. We have the National CSERT that contributes, and in a wide manner we try to communicate with every common organization that we have critical concerns and plans for cybersecurity events. We have the National Cybersecurity Strategy that comes from government and includes the national level risk assessment, recording of existing institutional framework among common organizations, and incident management and contingency plan, as long as a common handbook that we have to respect on that and based on that for all our actions. There are several known attacks that we take care and we try to learn from these attacks. That I think we are all familiar with Stachnet, the Shamoon, the Black Energy that has had two incidents in Ukraine, and there are in 2018 there was the Samsung attack in Atlanta. The security model that we are based, and we try to implement in every sector of our organization, is the NIST model that includes the identification, first of all, of asset management, business environment, governance, risk assessment, risk management strategy as means of enterprise level, the protection, access control, as well as the end user security, that is one of our biggest concern, awareness and training, data security, information protection, procedures and processes, and protective technology. The detection, that is, it's more crucial than after the identification, that has to do with anomalies and events, security and continuous monitoring, and the detection processes that has to do with every anomaly detection or every suspect activity that may arise in such IT or our OT environment. We have the response planning, communication, analysis, mitigation, improvements, stakeholders that have to do with that, and the stakeholders has to do with the recovery planning, improvements, and communications. Oral actions. What we are going to focus and what we try to take in huge consideration is the effective communication models and frameworks with the respective companies. Because we think that it's time of very important to be prepared for every incident that's going to happen, to know your partners, your stakeholders, to have the communication channel, know the numbers, their emails, so we have to communicate, because the cybersecurity events in such large-scale companies has to do with all the similar facilities. We have incident response teams with clear scenarios and responsibilities. We try to make as clear as possible their roles and the scenarios we have to take care as man of mitigate the effects of every scenario, and execution of business exercises, maintaining a high degree of readiness. This is one of our business strategy as well. Our actions also include coordination with European institutions and organizations, for example, the EDSO for joint actions for exchange, know-how and incident management methods, techniques, and of course the lessons learned from each action, for example, the Ukraine attacks. Also, the coordination with auxiliary companies, IPTO, PPC, Hellenic Petroleum, and for example, the companies that are related with energy, not only electricity, but energy in general. And the management model with a clear separation of roles and responsibilities, such as in each unaffected cybersecurity event not to be confused, and everyone has to know what to do exactly and with the specific sector. Our actions also include the ISO 27001 certificate for IT and OT infrastructure. At the current state, the ISO certification is only for the IT and OT department, but it's our plan to expand the certification to more systems, more divisions, and more critical systems. The installation of SOC. SOC is a Security Operations Center and Network Operations Center as a 24 basis. The incident detection as fast as possible, because it's crucial. It's incident to be detected as fast as possible, because we have to maintain and our actions to be exactly and as accurate as possible. The collaboration with relative and national institutions for example, ENISAs is shared and for coordination of actions, because we think that in such an environment that cybersecurity attacks rise all the time, we are always in a high level of readiness, and so we think that our actions have to be coordinated with similar organizations. And we are focused also in the backup infrastructure, disaster recovery for critical systems. So in every unattended or cybersecurity event, or an earthquake, or a flood, or something that unwanted, we have to maintain and start to distribute and continue distribution of energy in every corner of the country. Also, our actions include the risk management, risk treatment plans. We have, and we are focused that our plans have to be as accurate as possible, and we try to maintain the risk management plans as updated as possible. That is very difficult, and it's very crucial also. Integrated security policies, continuous inspections by internal and external auditors. For example, penetration tests, they were organized every 6 months, and now our plans include penetration tests every 3 months, and possibly we have to do it every month. But having in mind that we are talking for a large number of integrated systems that have to be very difficult, so we have to partially maintain all these inspections. Detailed disaster recovery plan that everyone has to know what to do and when. And we have to pay attention that something that we don't do is to pay attention the lessons learned after each incident. Our actions also include unfilled supply change management policy that few organizations pay the regular attention on that. A proper asset management catalog based on specific tools that do the proper asset management, impact mitigation actions, that actual actions that reduce the impact of each incident. And it's very crucial to implement and the proper tools for monitoring, identifying as possible incidents, dealing with preventing possible incidents. This is in collaboration with the Security Operations Center that is in our plans, and it's very crucial for every critical organization. And of course, it's very crucial that we have a communication person for each organization and each of our partners and stakeholders. This means that in case of emergency, we have a dedicated person for every stakeholder, and regarding the supply chain or any other stakeholder that is responsible to answer the phone, to reply to an email, and for mitigating and performing all the necessary actions that is required. Concluding, which are the challenges of the cybersecurity strategy in our organization? We have a large scale system integration. We have multiple systems for multiple vendors for installing in multiple locations. We have experienced and trained personnel, but we need more. Because the cybersecurity needs for personnel that it's highly trained, and the value and experience has to be maintained inside the organization. One more challenge is the ATPs and zero-day vulnerabilities handling, and that's why we said that we pay a lot of our attention on detecting on anomalies, saying that we believe that in a large-scale integration, there are many critical points or ports that our systems may be lost, but we have to deal with all and having in mind all that there are zero-day vulnerabilities that may arise all the time. And as we focus on the digitalization of processes and procedures, we have to know that critical aspects arise and regarding the cybersecurity, and we have to pay focus on all the security policies from the end user security to servers and stakeholders that have to be aligned with these security policies. And a crucial sector also is the end user security. And what to do is we pay a lot of attention on user awareness programs, not only for security administrators or network administrators, but also to the end user, every user that handles and has a cooperation with our IT or OT systems has to be familiar for phishing attacks, for ransomware, for virus, for not paying attention to virus phishing messages and similar. Real-time threat detection, it is also crucial because most of the attacks that we have faced until now was Sunday morning, what we are all out of office or some vacation time that we have to focus on that most of the times attackers choose a non-office hour for expanding and making the attack. And also our challenge is the geographical distribution that we have of our systems, because we are an energy distribution company, and such we have to distribute our systems on every corner of the country. This is for my side. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. We are approaching the conclusion session, and I would like to leave the floor as moderator to Vasilis Kassouras.
I would like to thank from my side everybody for their very interesting presentations. The obvious thing is that we live in interesting times and challenging ones too, and cyber threats are becoming more evident. The good thing is that the European cybersecurity ecosystem is building up. We have seen pick and place for many issues from the academia, for the research, from the industry, from the organizations that deal with policies. And all of this in just 2 hours. I hope you have had a good idea of the new environment we're dealing with. I'll now like to start looking at the Q&A session. There are some specific questions regarding the Cyber-MAR and FORESIGHT projects and the capabilities they are building upon. I would like to pass the question to Mr. Eleftherios Zounoglu or Mr. Kolokotronis to answer for the first 2 or 3 questions that are on the same field. Yes, Eleftherios, could you please answer?
Yeah, thanks, Vasilis. I see that several questions that are for both projects. Having a look in the first one about how the flexibility of our training models, I would say that definitely if we see specific cyber risk or even a specific cyber attacks that should be included in the curricula or in specific training activities, definitely effort is needed to analyze the specific attacks, to set up everything in the cyber range, etc. But definitely the systems do have the flexibility to support anything that can be virtualized, anything that can be modeled, etc. So it's not something that can directly done without human effort, etc. But there's no limits on the actual cyber risks and actual related, for example, to IT components or specific OT infrastructure that has been integrated with the existing systems, that there are limits. Professor Kolokotronis, if you have something to add or a different view on that?
No. Eleftherios, I fully agree with you. Just to add a little bit more information. For example, regarding the modules that constitute the cybersecurity training. I mean, the flexibility, as you said, is there. We can adapt to the current needs of cybersecurity industry. The information that is being gathered and assist from a technical point of view, the modules and the systems of both projects is important to do the job. But of course, in a careful design of a whole training process, human effort needs to be put in place to make things coherent and meet the objective of the training. Now, when it comes to cyber risk management, at least from my point of view, if I understand correctly, the second question, this is always a trade-off between economic investments versus the capabilities of the systems to mitigate the attacks. So it's always this trade-off, and let us not forget the cyber risk insurance, which is also an option that is available to companies to mitigate such threats. So I think that, yeah, at least for the first two questions that are more related to the project, this is more or less our views. Yeah, thank you.
If I could add from my side regarding the second question, it's pretty clear also by the anonymous attendee that provided the question that focusing on operations probably does not need a specific investment like buying equipment or software. The interesting thing is that by adopting such these types of platforms that both projects are offering, allows also to optimize operations, allows also to test operations and optimize operations, since they're actually involving, dedicated to all levels of not only management, but also operations and technical operations. So it also gives the capability and the flexibility to optimize them in a cost-effective way, but also gives the flexibility, and probably this is the way that the market will work in the future. It gives also the ability to actually test systems in a more effective way, in a way closer to the actual operation. So having such a platform, such a virtualization and simulation platform, would also give the opportunity to companies to actually understand better why and how they should invest in additional solutions, cybersecurity solutions, I would expect.
Very good.
Yes.
So there's
if I may add,
yeah.
Vasily, just to also allow engaging other speakers, what Eleftherios just mentioned about operational exercises, this is a big deal, and this is the focus of many large organizations. ENISA, Ricardo in his presentation also mentioned the focus of ENISA in having such exercises at pan-European level, which focus on operational mostly exercises. So it's not only about technical, but yes.
So organization and legislative.
Yes, exactly.
So let's proceed to the next one. It has to do with the maritime environment and mainly what is the most prevalent cyber attacks in the maritime industry. I would kindly ask David Brosset if can answer on this field. David?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't see the question.
If you go down in the Q&A, the question asks for the current most prevalent cyber attacks in the maritime industry.
Okay. In fact, the most common cyber attacks remain the same as all industrial systems. That is to say, ransomware, for sure. For the maritime domain, we have also specific systems, especially navigation equipment that can be targeted, as already said Bruno in his presentation. So like GPS spoofing, AIS spoofing. But these cyber attacks are mainly attributed to state agencies or to countries for political reasons. But the common cyber attacks definitely are classical, I want to say, cyber attacks like ransomware or malware, and the more specifically, in fact, these attacks are not targeted maritime domain, but are just, it's just an opportunistic cyber attack. You know what I mean? It's just wrong place, wrong time, and you got a ransomware on board. I hope that I answered this question correctly. But there is no maritime cyber attacks except for GPS, AIS attacks. And it's not common attack.
Happily, up to now, it's not a common attack. Okay, let's hope it's not going to evolve.
Not for now, but
not
maybe
for now, in the future, There's another question with the maritime domain, but mainly in the Coast Guard involvement, Coast Guard agencies involved in the countermeasures against cyber incidents. So I would kindly ask Mr. Bruno if can answer this specific question, please. No. Somebody else from the Cyber-MAR for the maritime domain? It's a tricky question because it has to do with the
answer.
All right. Okay, perfect.
Yes, it's not related to Coast Guard agencies, but cyber attacks attribution is very hard, and I think it will be very difficult also in the future. Because of all the anonymous processes we can use. It's a part of the cyber space. So the attribution will remain very, very, very difficult. And not because it's outside the European, it's not a European country targeted or the cyber attacker. For all cyber attacks, the attribution is very difficult.
But in any case, it implies jurisdiction subjects to be identified, because if this cyber attack drives a, let's say, faithful incident, it would be very bad for the company or the ship operator or the whatever. And the initiator behind that would be a cyber attack, which would be in another country, and so the liabilities should be transferred somehow in the another domain. Anyway, it's an open issue for discussion for the legislation point of view. we can continue with the power grid. But the power grid cyber attacks. Unfortunately, Mr. Michalopoulos has to. No, Mr. Michalopoulos is still here. Can you?
Yes.
Can
Although
you please?
I'm a little bit out of time, but I think I can
cool.
answer this question. Actually, the recovery point objective is defined by the business continuity planning. And this is defined not only for cyber attacks, but for all the kind of malfunctions or the things that the power to consumers has to be stopped. There are some guaranteed services to consumers that most of them are regarding to the time that they need for the power to be restored, and practically is the time for all customers to be in power again.
Perfect. I hope we have answered the power grid question. And the last question has to do with the aviation industry, and specifically is asking, apart than supply chain attacks, what are the common attacks in the aviation industry? I have to ask Mr. Ricardo de Souza if he can answer this question.
Hi, hello again. Yeah, of course. It's a very, very interesting and relevant question. We do have data from 2020, namely from Eurocontrol and the ATM CERT. So, and the main other than supply chain attacks, the main let's say reported cyber attacks in aviation were basically, I would like to highlight four. One is the use of fraudulent websites. Okay. Second one is data theft. Then we have also phishing campaigns, and these are a little bit more widespread. And then we also have the ransomware problem. So let me just elaborate 2 seconds on each one of them. So the fraudulent websites is really dealing with impersonating IATA and airline companies' websites. They will sell fake tickets and they will try to extract customer credit card data. Okay, I think this is a situation which is also trying to make use of the COVID-19, where you have a lot of flight cancellations, and you will, make changes on the dates of your flights and etc., and ask for refunds. So these websites are done for, of course, monetary gain, and they're pointed out as the most reported cyber attack. So, and then it's been successful because, of course, people, they will find a ticket for a flight that is maybe sold out in the original website of the company. This fake ticket will sell at almost twice or 3 times the value of the real ticket, and so this provides for very big gains for the attackers. The data theft is still a huge problem, of course. The customer personal data and credit card data is very, very sought after. Okay. They also try to get the data from the airline loyalty program accounts. Okay, and so also here the pandemic has accelerated the criminal interest in this in some way, because airlines are returning some money via loyalty accounts to passengers whose flights have been cancelled, and so by accessing these accounts, the criminals not only have more information about the customers themselves, but also be able to get to some refunds. Okay, then we have the typical phishing campaigns, which really they open up the possibility of the attackers to get in the network, and then from there escalate privileges and try to get to some companies information, and also from there typically be able to possibly launch ransomware attacks to the airline and to other aviation operators themselves. But to have an idea of the numbers, in 2020 alone, the loss from data thefts and fraudulent websites in aviation was close to $1 billion globally. So this is a lot of money. So I think reinforce the fact that we need to focus on also on this sector on resilience. Okay, we cannot expect anymore to be able to be able to stop all the attacks. We need to understand that we as in other sectors, we will be attacked, and what we can do is to deal in the best way possible. So this from an organizational point of view, two things are very important. One is to invest on your cyber intelligence capabilities. So to understand that, for instance, if you are a company which is runs on an airline company which runs on Ukrainian flag, you cannot detach everything that happens in terms of geopolitical issues. You cannot detach that from the fact that you are a Ukrainian air company. Okay, so you need to be, you need to pay attention of the global geopolitical issues and understand from a cyber intelligence point of view, how can that come and knock on your door in some way. So cyber intelligence is very important to understand how you can be a target and why there are motivations for you to be attacked. And with that, you should also share within your industry that intelligence, because you can detect funny behaviors or patterns on your network if it doesn't turn out to be an attack on your company, but you should share with your peers and within your sector that something happened, and then just give a heads up that someone else might detect the same behaviors, and this can turn out to be an attack. So intelligence is very important, and have the organizational measures and security posture, building operational capability, and building also cybersecurity awareness within your organization and within your employees. So this is also very important. So not focus only on trying to not get attacked, because you will, but how you can really manage it and how you can minimize the impacts of the attack.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next question. No open questions. There is one in the chat. What's the best way to create awareness of maritime cybersecurity in an organization? So maybe we have to ask Mr. Aymeric Sinkel. Can you hear me, Mr. Aymeric? No. Maritime cybersecurity in an organization. Probably he's asking about a maritime operations organization. And this applies in the general domain of cybersecurity protection. As Mr. Ricardo told before, we have to have a strong prevention based on cyber intelligence, and a strong mitigation and countermeasures based on organization schemes and exercises and updating the knowledge of the personnel in order to have and create feeling of security policies implementation. In any organization, this is crucial to have imply specific policy with clear rules understood by everyone and updated as soon as possible according to the latest threats in order for be updated in a day-to-day operations. And apart from that, you have to always have plan B for assessing the effects and effects that we are going to have from any cyber attack. And the general policy applies to any organization. It's not just Maritime. Maritime, of course, has specific intrinsics that have to be dealt with, that has to do with the communication with remote communication with the ships, the perplexed environment of the ship IT infrastructure, and the interconnection of the specific ship with the company and the company with the other trading organizations too. It's not a simple question and not a simple answer. I don't have any other open question. I would like to thank you all for your contribution to explaining as best possible to the questions asked. And I'll thank you all the attendees, and I'll pass the talk to Cyber-MAR organization in order for the conclusions. I think we had a very good and proactive talking. Thank you from my side. Monica. We cannot hear you.
Yes, sorry. Just give me one. Okay, so Eleftherios, if you would like to close as coordinator of the Cyber-MAR, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, just to join us. And so in the next months, we'll offer, and as Foresight Project, the training sessions. And so we'll keep update on our website. Thank you. Eleftherios, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Monica, and thank you very much, Vasilis, also for coordinating this Q&A session and the panel discussion. Definitely, the webinar was really interesting. I would like from the Cyber-MAR side to thank all the keynote speakers. As I said in my introductory speech, it's always important to hear again from stakeholders their view. And also the steps taken in their domains during the years that we are implementing our projects. This is also something important, since cybersecurity is a domain actively and really heavily being developing solutions, being applied in different organizations. And for some research projects that they have set their objectives back 2 years or 3 years before, is always important also to refresh their view on the actual implementation of solutions and how they can further adapt what is being developed to the actual needs. So many thanks also to colleagues from Foresight for this great collaboration. And as has been announced, we are going to continue with joint training activity, and hopefully with additional joint activities when it comes to not only the training programs that both projects have, but also our pilot activities and other activities related to the implementation of our projects. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Davide, for coordinating. And as announced, the recording of the webinar will be available in our website. So any colleagues of you, if they would like to have a look, please feel free to share the link with them. And please stay tuned in both project sites for additional events and also for the training sessions that we're going to have together. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day ahead. And again, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye to all.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.